Good evening, everyone. And I'm Richa Sarah. Once again, I welcome all of you to our live session. And this time, as usual, we are coming up with something new and something which is a need of the hour. So today, I have a special guest named Bharti Rakheja, who is a psychologist and a life coach, has changed many lives and have served a lot to the society. So I'm just going to add her soon. As long as she gets added, we'll talk about more towards depression and much more, which is actually a need of the hour. As you all know that a lot of things are going on in the society. We would want everyone to think much more deep on this subject. So she's with me. Just a second. Good evening, Bharti.
Good evening, Richa.
How are you doing?
All good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, same here.
So, guys, today's session is very special. As you all know that depression is something which is really killing everyone these days. That too, with the ongoing things like the pandemic situation of COVID, then you must be, reading much more about the China and fights between the China and India. Then a lot of other stress issues about the business because business are not working out. A lot of things are shut it down. A lot of people are not even aware how do they just revive their lives, what are the solutions to do it. So many more to actually learn, many more to learn in terms of how to live a nice life, how to avoid these issues so that we do not land up in a situation which you have been seeing these days. As we have recently seen a big case of Sushant Singh Rajput in Bollywood, which has created a big time, panic situation in the society, and everybody is just talking about it, that why somebody is in a situation that he had to suicide, that when you know that he has name, fame, money and everything. So it's not about that, it's an internal peace and situation which can actually take you out from that condition. So I think today's session is going to help all those people who are not into even depression. So we do not have to wait that you will one day land up in the depression. Probably we'll learn about those strategies. Plus, we will also learn how should we avoid not going towards that stage from the initial perspectives, from the initial steps. So here I welcome Bharti Rakheja, who has changed so many lives, so many people she has served and helped, that she has taken out from the depression, or so many people she has given the happiness to from her strategies, from her steps and ways. So we'll learn those ways so that everybody can actually get the benefit out of it. So over to you, Bharti. Probably just start. Let's start that. How do we go about it? What do you think?
So, yeah, well said, Richa, that, we need to be aware, we need to understand, how our thoughts work, how our perception works, so that we do not land up in the situation in the first place, right? So I definitely, and I really want to work on this approach only. And my approach is like this, that I want to train the youngsters, the young youth of the world, in this, that they should have enough coping skills. They should have already that mechanism with them, because once this condition comes in, it's very difficult to manage it, to understand it and to manage it. So better way, we understand it way beforehand, so that, we are all set and all aware about it. So asking about depression, firstly, let me put some light here that the word depression and the word anxiety have become so common in a common person's language, the daily language, which should not happen, because these two are medical terms, they are clinical terms, and they are two very intense situations. So just for a little while, for a day or two, if a child is sitting sad, or an adolescent is throwing a tantrum, generally the parents or the family, uses the term, oh ye to depressed hai na, isko to bahut anxiety hoti hai, or he is too aggressive. So these are very strong labels to put on a child. Henceforward the difficulties will only go on a rise. But if you ask me what depression is clinically or medical terms mein, it is that state of extreme sadness, not just general sadness, it's an extreme sadness, emptiness, hopelessness that a person feels. It affects his perception, his cognitive abilities, and it shows in his somatic symptoms also. And there is a marked change, difference in the person's behavior and outlook. And if this
Sure.
condition persists for more than 2 hours, then it can be termed as depression only by the doctor, not by the family or by the lay people. So this is very important to understand, that the symptoms have to be there for more than 2 weeks consistently. Then we can call it as depression.
So, what kind of thoughts you just mentioned correctly that emptiness is one of those thoughts? What all thoughts you think that people actually think at that time? How do you realize that you are actually under depression and actually you need medical advice? At what point people actually get to know about it?
So, Richa, this is a very sad side of depression, that somebody may be passing through it, going through it, but may not realize that it is depression. The family might be around the person. I have seen this sadly in so many cases, that the person lives in a huge joint family. There are so many people around him, but still he is into that state of loneliness. Right? So solitude is different. Solitude is something you enjoy, but loneliness is something that you feel that nobody is with me, nobody understands me. And whatever situation the person is in, the thoughts are such, the perception is such, that I can never come out of this. So there is extreme hopelessness. The person gives himself a full stop here, that ये तो ठीक हो ही नहीं सकता है जो मेरा condition है. For example, the loss of property, or the loss of a person, loved one, or the loss of some possession that you've had which was very dear to you. So if in such cases, these might be the triggers, but then the vulnerability, the tendency of depression has so many other reasons to it, that slowly we are going to discuss those. But it's important to understand that the person might not be able to recognize that it is depression. And so we need to discuss the symptoms elaborately here, so that lay people can really understand what depression is and how it looks like. So just
Absolutely.
for the sake of an example, Richa, imagine yourself wearing green glasses. Okay, so if you're wearing green glasses, everything around you would look green to you. So the person who is in depression is wearing gloom glasses. So everything, every situation around him looks gloomy to him. He finds negativity in everything. He finds sadness in everything. He stops enjoying all those activities which he was probably enjoying just before this situation arrived, this condition happened. So there are marked things that you can really see visibly, possible to see. So, for example, there is a significant change in the sleep patterns of the person, changes in hunger. So maybe the person is overeating or undereating now. Resultantly, there is a significant difference in weight happening. So there is a significant impact on the sexual desire of the people, and lack of energy, drained energy, completely fatigued, may not have enough energy to even come out of the bed sometimes, right? And the person, how this person talks is usually talks of negativity, talks of kuch to ho nahi sakta hai, hopelessness, that, or maybe if it's that severe or that intense, he talks about suicidal ideation also. So not
Sure.
directly, he might not come and tell you that I'm going to commit suicide, but he might show these signals that I really wish that I do not wake up in the morning. I really wish that I continue to sleep so that I don't have to face this pain in the world, right? So these are the signals that the person is giving you. Or he may tell you that he may ask you for certain things like a rope or a weapon or something, indirectly. Maybe some people who really plan it, some people have shown to be doing up their wills also, clearing off their debts also. So because internally they have decided that I'm giving up, I'm quitting, and so I must do these responsibilities before I take any step, and they can plan. And some people just do it in the heat of the emotional moment, right?
Sure. Bharti, I'm going to pick up some questions which we are getting online as well.
Right.
That So Nisha, we'll start with Nisha. She said everyone has some challenges in their life. How can we
Yeah.
just get to know if someone is facing depression?
Oh, good question, Richa. Wonderful question. Yes. So, one situation, different people, different responses, right? So, there is a challenge for you and there is a challenge for me. So, best example would be COVID situation is for everybody, right? But not everybody is anxious, not everybody is depressed. But I am experiencing a significant rise in the cases whom I am helping with. So every day I'm getting at least 3 calls for anxiety and depression because the vulnerability was already there. So one significant thing that we need to note is if it travels in the family, it passes genetically. So the tendency towards depression passes genetically. So if there is a tendency, there have been cases in the family, paternal side or maternal side, even far relatives also, right? Grandparents or maternal uncle or paternal uncle, aunt or whatever. So you need to just keep that in mind. Okay, if there has been in the family some cases, so one might be having that tendency. Not necessarily, but then there is the tendency there because genetically it travels. Then how is your overall personality? That also depends. It depends upon that. So there are some people who are bindas and they are must about everything, right? And there are people who are super sensitive, super emotional. So they are, they cannot handle rejection. They cannot handle failure. Even small bits of it. They are showing signals, of course. एकदम से कोई नहीं कर लेता है कुछ, right, Richa? So they show those symptoms and they give you signals, and we need to be sensitive enough for the person's projections, for the person's sharing, if at all he or she is sharing that, so of course the question is that given the same situation, how do we understand that this is depression or it is not depression? So we are going to discuss the symptoms once again, Richa, so that people can understand better. And if these symptoms persist for more than 2 weeks, right, in the same intensity or severity, then we can consider that this is depression. So, for example, there happens to be a loss of life in the family, a loss of loved one. It is very difficult for the family members to cope with it, right? For 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, a lot of crying happens, a lot of ventilation happens, and it happens. So, Indian system mein the procedures, the rituals are such that help you lift yourself up by 14 days, right? 17th day we complete the rituals and you are back to life again. So this is a very, very scientific system I really appreciate in the Indian customs. That 14 days are dedicated to mourning and to control, calm yourself down, and then you're back to the routine work. But if somebody is not able to get back to the daily activities even after 14 days or 20 days, then there is something to worry about or something to do about rather. So some people, similar situation, some people cope well, cope easily, 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, but there are people who are not able to, so we need to be concerned for them, right?
Sure, sure. So, Bharti, I think I am very curious to ask one question. I'll pick up more questions from online later. That since you just mentioned that there's a time limit of 2 weeks, right, wherein you realize that the person is giving you symptoms of probably getting out of the life or you know maybe thinking about the suicidal notes. So let's say if somebody now gets the hint out of it that this person is actually giving me hints what he or I mean the person who is near to him, who is living with him, probably his friend or family member, how can they really go about it? How they can help that time? What steps they should take so that he doesn't take those steps?
Yeah. So, Richa, firstly, let's understand how the symptoms look, right? So there are 5 to 6 things that I just mentioned. The sleep gets abrupted,
Yeah.
the hunger gets abrupted. So either the person is oversleeping or undersleeping. There is insomnia or oversleeping. There is overeating or undereating. There is a significant change in the weight of that person. Fourth thing is that he shows absolute fatigue most of the times. He's tired, restless. There is also a psychomotor agitation that is happening. So some people take the pen a lot and they keep on shaking their hands or legs quite prominently, observable, right? And then there could be a lack of sexual desire, a significant change in that as well. Then there also could be thoughts of hopelessness. So this person talks more negative. So when I'm talking about these symptoms, it is important to understand, Richa, that at least 5 symptoms should be visible. Okay, so
Okay.
not just one, right? So it is going to be a major mistake if we just check the weight of that person or the hunger pattern of that person and decide that this is depression. No, right? So there need to be a connection between 3 to 5 symptoms persistently there for nearly 2 weeks or more, and then the doctor has to decide whether this is depression. So you can definitely, if you are under a doubt, the first thing that you need to do is, if you're having somebody in your family who is showing symptoms of depression, one thing is for sure, that please offer to listen. Please offer your availability. So if even if it is an adolescent, especially adolescents के साथ sadly ये होता है कि their reactions or their projections are not taken seriously. ये तो tantrum throw कर रहा है. Adolescence age already is बदनाम, है ना, कि गुस्सा बहुत आता है बच्चों को. And kids में this depression projection looks like irritability more and sadness less. So the kids project depression more through irritability, right? So if there is a marked change in the behavior of the person, you need to at least be attentive to him or her. So offer your shoulder, offer yourself, let the person know that you're ready to listen. Let's also talk about some mistakes that family members do. Richa, so when a person is showing these symptoms, most of the people reject that person's emotion. Invalidation is the word. They invalidate. Arey, you have everything. Like sadly, Sushant के लिए भी सब यही बात कर रहे हैं. He had fame, he had money, he had wealth, he had seen the heights of success. Almost every movie of his was a hit. फिर काहे का depression?
Absolutely, yeah.
And this really pinches you to the core. How can you define or somebody X define my definition of happiness? Right? So not really talking about Sushant because I hardly know his situation or I hardly know whatever was found behind him, but I might be having my own desires in my own context of life, right? So if people see that I have a house, I'm a wealthy person and I have a family, who knows what pain I'm going through from inside or what are my targets about life? Maybe I have over expectations from my own self, which I'm not able to meet. That lands me up into depression. So what not to do is more important than what to do, Richa. What not to do is, at least do not reject the person's feelings. Do not invalidate when the person comes and tells you that मुझे बहुत sad लग रहा है, बहुत खाली लग रहा है, emptiness when the person is sharing. Please do not reject by saying कि तुम्हारे पास तो सब कुछ है, फिर क्या sad लग रहा है, तुम्हारे तो tantrums हैं. One mistake.
Actually, you will land up ending that answer without listening him properly. That's the biggest mistake I think everybody must be doing.
Absolutely. And second biggest mistake.
So you give a taunt and you just close it.
Yeah. So this sarcasm really pushes you to the edge. So this person who is in depression is already edgy. He's already looking for something. He's already trying to seek some answers which he's not getting, right? So even if he confides into one person with whom he wants to talk and share he's already confused why he is feeling that way. So anxiety and depression sometimes, most of the times, are seen as comorbidity with each other. Yeah. So the person is depressed and then he becomes anxious because of his condition. Yeah.
Okay.
So there is anxiety-induced anxiety also and depression-induced anxiety also. And anxiety-induced depression also. So it's really complicated.
Okay, so they are interrelated, you mean?
They are interrelated, right. But what is more important is not to understand it medically, but not to go by the jargon, okay? But at least if you love this person who is your family member or friend or relative or husband or wife or a child, try to be genuinely interested in that person. That is all I would say. Be genuinely interested, be compassionate. If he or she is coming and telling you something about her or his confused state of mind, be open to listen and validate with all ears and all your body language, right? So if a child comes to you and tells you, Mama, I need to talk about something silly, so turn around, look into his eyes, give him that confidence that I'm available. Not के फोन पे लगे हुए हो आप, हाँ बोलो मैं सुन रहा हूँ, right? So this is very important.
Sure.
And since childhood, if we can train our children to acknowledge their emotions, acknowledge their feelings, label their feelings, okay, this is what you're feeling angry. It looks like you're feeling sad. It looks like you're feeling confused, right? If we teach them, Indians are very, very deficient in the emotional language, emotional vocabulary. So most of the clients I ask, how are you feeling? They say, I'm feeling very good. I'm feeling very bad. So these two are very generalized terms, right?
Sure. I think very
yeah,
well answered, Bharti. And I think a lot of people are actually thinking about it. I'm getting messages also on my phone that it is very interesting. So I'm going to pick up other questions because a lot of people must be waiting.
sure.
So Prithvi just asked it, how to overcome negative problems.
How to overcome negativity, right? Problems ko overcome kar sakte hain ki nahi, that's a different question, and I may not be the right person to answer that, but I can always say that there is no situation in this world which is bigger than you yourself, Richa. I want Prithvi and everybody else to know this. There is no condition, no situation in the world which is bigger than you, right? So, given any kind of a challenge, any kind of a negative problem, any kind of a situation, if another person looks at it, it might look different to that person. But if a gloomy person looks at it, if a person is struggling with depression looks at it, he finds it hopeless. इसका तो इस प्रॉब्लम का कोई सोल्यूशन नहीं है. But we can definitely train our people around us by constantly telling them this, constantly sharing this idea that there is nothing in the world which is bigger than you. No marks, no achievements, no failure, no success. Nothing is bigger than you, right? So your life, your existence is what matters the most. If you are there, then the problems are there, no? Right?
Sure, of course.
So,
Yeah,
one thing, this is important
absolutely.
to accept this first. And then, if I'm okay, if I'm all right, if I'm healthy, then I can see what we can do about it. So, if there is a goal, there is a challenge that needs to be dealt with, we can work on plan A. If plan A doesn't work, then plan B. Plan B doesn't work, then plan C. Maybe D, E, F, Z. And then we can start with 1, 2, 3, 4. But we can never stop trying, right? Quitting is closing everything, right? But then, as I said, nothing is bigger than you yourself. So, first, accept yourself unconditionally. It's okay not to be okay. If you're feeling differently, it's all right. Accept yourself. And then ask yourself, what can I do about it? Right? So any challenge,
Sure.
so many problems, so many solutions would be there. So many people might be there who might come and help you miraculously. They appear in your life and they give you a solution, but then at least wait for that miraculous moment to come.
Thank you, Bharti. I'm so lucky that I've been chatting with you and I've been getting to know
Thank you.
about it because I also have a son. I think it
Yeah,
will really help. A lot of new mothers also will pick up some
of
questions
course.
from them as well.
Yeah, I'm
So
glad.
I just got another question. Is it okay to expect others to help you get out of the depression, or do you think only self motivation is the way out of depression?
No, this is a misconception, Richa, that I'll fight it myself and I don't need to tell anybody about it. Let's talk about taboo also, stigma also today, Richa. Through your platform, I want each and every person to know this, that, as I said, it's okay not to be okay. And it is courageous to seek help. It is an act of bravery to seek help. It is an act of courage to accept that you are passing through something. आपके दांत में दर्द होता है, आपके आंखों में प्रॉब्लम होती है, but we never feel ashamed of going to the eye doctor and to the dentist. So similarly, my brain or my chemical neurochemistry is undergoing some problem. it's all right to go and see the right person who can give you some medication maybe, or who can give you some talk therapy. So again, this gives me a chance to help people understand that what is the difference between a general friendly talk by a friend or a relative or a family member and a talk facilitated by a therapist, right? So a psychiatrist gives medicines which are very important depending upon the severity of the problem. After starting with the medications, once the person finds himself or herself comfortable to come out and go for counseling, or up to I'm doing all online counselings. So if you can manage to land up into that state of helping yourself now after medications, then seek therapy. And therapy is done by a psychotherapist, a psychologist. And please do not fear this term psycho everywhere, because psycho does not mean anything beyond your and mine emotional wellness, right? So once a therapist, you manage to meet a therapist, she or he is equipped scientifically with a structured talk. It is not just a pep talk or an uplifting talk कि सब ठीक हो जाएगा, I am with you, the family is with you. No, not just this. Of course, ये तो friends कर सकते हैं ना. But what a therapist does is, he or she is trained in a certain structure through which this person helps you to understand the situation with a different and a healthier perspective and a solution oriented perspective, right? And it helps you, and he helps you to bring out your own solutions with your own resources. The psychotherapist will never give you an advice ready made कि अब ये कर लो या ये कर लो, because usually people don't follow the advice, right? If it comes from you, you will take charge, you will be responsible for following up your own advice, and the therapist is trained in that, Richa. So it is very important to seek help, to let somebody know that you are struggling with something, and seek help to reach out to the right person for help.
Absolutely. Sure. So I have another question, Bharti, from Dr. Spurti Man. She's saying very informative. So thanks, Dr. Spurti. COVID-19 cases often get mentally bogged down and dejectedly ask, why me? So I'm sure she's a doctor and she must be facing that. There are a lot of people who are now corona positive. They must be asking her, why me? Not anybody else. I'm sure depression people also must be thinking the same way, that why is it happening with me, why I am lonely, why I'm getting rejected. So probably that is the question.
Right. So as an example, Richa, let's do this. If I'm not happy with the color of my skin, if I'm not happy with the formation of my nose, maybe, right? So I constantly look into the mirror and ask myself, why me, right? But when I get a nice gift for myself from somebody, then I don't ask why me, right? We human beings have a tendency to be negative, right? जब हमें कोल्ड कफ होता है, वायरल फीवर होता है, तो वी नेवर गो एंड प्रोब के कहाँ से आया, मुझे क्यों आया, कैसे आया, राइट? All we are concerned about is how to get cured, right? So we never go and find out like a detective कि किसने मुझे cold दिया, but rather how should I seek medical help so that I can heal myself, right? So what we can do should be the focus. So if Dr. Spurti can counsel her patients by giving this extra time to them, maybe in some way, so as to help them understand कि it is out there और ये कहीं से भी आया हो सकता है, and why me? Because maybe your immune system was not as healthy, maybe you had that tendency, that vulnerability in you, but that is not क्या कर लेंगे ये पता करके कि why me? Okay, we are not going to fight with God for this, or we are not going to fight with the virus with this, right? Because of this, all we are concerned about is how to get quickly cured from it. And of course, there is no medication as such. We are all desperately waiting for the vaccine to come or the medicines to come for COVID, but at least we can keep our minds calm. And if we believe in the law of attraction, and if we believe in the law of subconscious mind, at least give yourselves positive affirmations, positive vibrations, so that you move towards healing and you heal faster. Right? So I believe it is very important for doctors to keep themselves calm first and then to keep their patients also positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Dr. Swati also mentioned that their negatives suggest ways to lift the spirits of people suffering from COVID-19 and those in isolation. Then she asked again that suggest how to uplift spirits of those in isolation and hospitalized due to COVID, as it has had significant negative psychological impact.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. So there is one patient whom I'm helping, through phone call talks only, and he is hospitalized right now, and he is COVID positive, and he's thankfully he's recovering now. And how I am helping that patient is, we have a brief call in the morning, right? Once or twice we had that call, and then I keep on sharing positive videos with him. So there is a very famous video available on the net, Morris Goodman, who is also called the Miracle Man, who claims to have healed himself from a disastrous accident, air crash accident that he had, and he was paralyzed below this point for the entire body. And he cured himself, he healed himself despite the negativity being spread around him from the medical professionals out there, because they all knew that there's little chance for him to survive, but he fought himself very bravely. So I shared a couple of videos with him, and I keep sharing meditative videos with him, and to help him affirm positively. I keep on sharing affirmations with him, and I keep on nudging him कि आप repeat करते रहो इसको. At least this is the best you can do. The medicines will help you, your immune system, once you keep yourself positive. So stress releases cortisol in the body, which pushes down your immune system very disastrously. So immune system is the only hope, Richa. Keeping yourself calm and stress free is very important in this situation. Doctors can share this idea with their patients through the TV or some common medium available there in the hospital, and it is very important to keep them calm and positive this way. This is one way that we can make it possible.
Done. Sure. What is the best way to help someone coming out of depression if we get to know about someone that he or she is going through depression?
So one is that a person is not willing to seek therapy. Okay, and the other is that a person is in therapy and is recovering, right? बहुत सबसे important बात रिचा ये है कि उसकी feelings को invalidate ना करें. Don't judge, don't advise, because once you set your tone into an advice tone mode, the person feels that you don't understand me. That is why you're advising me, right? And already he is a very highly sensitive person. Already he is going through emotional trauma. And if you sit and advise, he feels that no, you cannot understand me. I better don't choose you to share my side with you. So maintain this alliance with the person by keeping yourself available. And silence is very powerful. If you listen somebody silently, patiently, sadly, most of us, when we get into listening, we are listening only with the intent of talking back or saying something. It's not necessary, na? So if somebody is sharing his or her side with me, I can keep quiet and I can just nod and look into the eyes and acknowledge that I'm listening. Go on. Yeah, I understand. Stay compassionate. And the doctors will do their job. The therapist will do their, don't interfere in their way, because psychiatrist prescribes the medicines and family members have their own opinion somehow, their own wisdom, and ये dependency हो जाएगी, आप इतना मत लो, इतना dose दिया इतना ही लो, which is not right. If you have any doubts, if you have such doubts that you might become dependent on medication, ask your doctor, ask the psychiatrist, and good ones will definitely answer elaborately and tell you how we are going to wean the medicines slowly. But if you don't ask, you do not allow the person to clarify, and you have your own doubts and then you take your own actions. And once the situation worsens, then you say कि 6 महीने हो गए कुछ असर तो हो नहीं रहा. right? Go for therapy sessions. If you have decided or the doctor has prescribed once a week therapy, go for it. Don't miss the sessions in between. We cannot say once the person takes an extreme step what actually went wrong. Even with Sushant, whether the medicines got over or he's suddenly stopped taking the medicines or he stopped taking therapy, what he was going through, that nobody except him can tell us, and he's gone to a better place, we can say, right? So it is important to stay available and stay neutral also. Please do not become
Sure.
you yourself as a therapist. Don't try to help your family member. That is all I can say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Kanika is asking, how do people tide over the physical symptoms of tiredness that you mentioned, especially for the elderly?
Yeah, so again, I need to repeat this, that only one symptom is not good enough to understand that it is depression. So, physical fatigue could be because of anxiety, also, it could be because of other deficiencies in the body, also. There could be so many other reasons to it. So, we need to correlate sleep patterns, hunger patterns, then your other things, your activities, daily activities, how your cognition seems to be working, how is your level of concentration. So these symptoms altogether, at least 5 of them should come true, 3 to 5 of them, and at least for 2 weeks. That is very important. So this is how you correlate and decide, and not decide, rather you think that it could be depression, and so let us talk to a psychiatrist or a physician, a doctor.
Sure. So, hi, many times we feel very sad and nothing seems right. Is there any signs through which depression can be identified? Pratibha is asking this.
So again, identification can, we need to leave it to the doctor only, that the diagnosis can be done only by a doctor. So let that person only do the job. But if you sense, if you have any doubts about it, there's no harm in calling up your family doctor whom you confide in and speak about the symptoms, speak about the situation, and then let that person advise you whether you need to go to a psychiatrist or there is some other way. So if there is a general sadness a day or two and three, and then it starts to subside, and there is general tiredness or fatigue, which might be for so many reasons. So, and if slowly, something starts helping you, maybe you start changing your diet or you start to exercise and it helps you, but you have to take an overall picture to decide whether you want to go for it or not. But it's always advisable to check for more than 3, 4, 5 symptoms consistently over a period of 2 weeks or more.
Sure. And Bhati, are there any stages of depression?
There are kinds of depression, Richa, but हम stages ऐसे नहीं कह सकते हैं. So it might start with simple, small, subtle changes in the cognition, subtle changes in your thought pattern, subtle draining of energy. It might start that way, but then it may not be visible in the initial phases. But there are different kinds of depression. So this gives me a chance to elaborate upon the PDD, which we say that premenstrual depressive disorder, जिसमें menstrual cycle आने से कुछ time पहले 5, 6, 7 days before that there seem to be cognitive and mood changes in a person, in the woman. So that can be connected with this, that this is the period of her cycle, and that is why this kind of a problem is coming in, and that also has to be correlated with many other things, again the mood changes, the hunger changes, and the sleep patterns, right? Pains and aches in the body in several areas. So one cannot really decide by oneself कि हाँ ये depression है, but there is a test that the doctor will take you through, and through questionnaires, and then he only can decide whether diagnose whether it is depression or not, right? So even if you sense
Okay.
that a person is started talking negative, talk him through. I mean, listen to him, understand him, share your compassion with the person without judging, without advising, without judging. ये कर लो, चल तू मेरे साथ आ जा, spend some time with me, you'll be cheerful. That's okay. That will distract that person for a while, but that does not correct the cognition here, right? So through phases, if you ask me, if you can sense that there is a beginning that is happening, and but it won't be wise to decide by yourself that this will land up into depression only. So you need to be watchful, you need to be concerned, you need to be available and connected.
Sure. So Kanika just asked that can really young kids like toddlers get impacted by it? If yes, then how do they express?
Toddlers का I haven't really heard, but yes, there is a test for kids and adolescents. 6 to 12 years तक उनका एक different approach होता है. 6 to 12, 13 years तक. And there have been cases जहाँ adolescents में depression देखा गया है. But with kids, it's mostly in the form of irritability that takes height if they are into any kind of a sadness, right? Again, the psychiatrist is the right person to tell you that.
Sure. So, Bharti, I have a couple of questions related to the new mothers. Now, since you know that there are a lot of nuclear families and there are no more joint families much in the metro cities, especially. So, now the upbringing of the child is very different from what we used to see earlier. So, I've been seeing and I've been noticing that the younger kids are getting more anxious. They are getting more angry. They look more irritated. They are playing on their own. They don't get much time to spend with their family members. Like parents are always busy. Do you think it is the correct way to do it, or should we actually start something along with them rather than doing only multiple activities on daily basis, which are like brain activities? What emotional things can be done, or how can we actually avoid some
Right.
negative things which can happen in the future?
Richa, it is important for us to understand that the world has become somehow IQ oriented. मेरा बच्चा इंटेलिजेंट होना चाहिए. बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज डे वन से स्टिमुलस देना शुरू कर देते हैं. पेरेंट्स आर सुपरवेल्म्ड, overwhelmed with this idea that my child should be fully equipped with everything so that he has good intelligence, good IQ, right? It is more important to understand that the EQ decides your happiness and your achievements, right? So Sushant was a very high IQ child, full of achievements throughout life, whether they were academics or even in the performance areas, full of achievements. But won't be fair for me to say that whether he was emotionally strong or not. But we, as young mothers, all the young mothers present here today, we need to understand that how to make the child emotionally strong so that he can bear with rejection in life. Life is not going to be all rosy. Life will very strictly tell you no so many times, that no, you will not get this. So why are parents fearing this? And if parents always give a yes to the child, given to all the tantrums, given to all the demands, I've seen parents, because there is a trend of one or two kids in the family, right? So one or two kids ke saath they have all the resources, or they manage to bring in all the resources to have them a very happy childhood. Of course, all the parents want this for their children, that they should be happy. But happiness with toys, with materialistic things, gives them a different definition of life, of happiness. But happiness with love, happiness with discipline, happiness with interaction, happiness with socializing, these things, and happiness with alone, solitude also. So a child can be helped to train himself or herself to be happy all alone, not with the gadgets, not with the screens, not with always stimulated with the toys. This is a very sad thing that I see around me. 6 months old baby who has just started to started with the proper semi-solid food. The best way to feed this child is show him a screen. Here the screen is shown, and here the spoon goes into his mouth. Poor child, he or she is not even realizing what he is eating. Forget about the connection with the taste, texture, temperature of the food. You and me connect with food, Richa. जब हम खाते हैं तो उसको enjoy करते हैं ना. Allow the child to connect with the enjoyment the food brings, the nourishment the food brings, right? And this way, if you keep yourself aware, if you keep yourself connected with the child, you will get to know when to say no to the child. So the children should be brought up with this idea that not always you'll get everything that you demand or you need or you want, rather. Right? So saying no,
Sure.
and delaying gratification, most important. delaying gratification. Abhi kuch manga hai, abhi mil jaye. The child will throw a tantrum because it's his job. But giving in is not a wise parent's job. It is very important to delay the gratification. Slowly and very subtle manner, you can teach the child to earn the things also, right? Not by bribing or threatening the child कि ये करोगे ये मिलेगा, ये नहीं करोगे ये नहीं होगा. But it's very important, maybe have a token system or have some system in the house where slowly with toddlers beyond that age, with kids, we can introduce a system, and we can introduce certain talks like this. Talk about values, talk about emotions, talk about how you feel, talk about where you went wrong. So parents can definitely share with their children how they have had certain sad phases in life where they overcame after some time. It is very important for us to tell our children that emotions are phases which pass. So you're angry and you're not angry forever. Similarly, you are sad, you're not sad forever, right? So slowly we can train our children into this, that emotions are phases. They come and they go. So wait for your anger to pass. Wait for your sadness to pass. First, we need to understand that, no, as parents. Then we can teach our children.
Absolutely. Kanika is saying, please give some tips for keeping children happy and in good mental well-being for working mothers.
Working mothers, yeah, of course. This is a challenge. I understand that spending time with the baby becomes a challenge, but there is always hope. As I say, there are always solutions. There are always multiple keys to a single lock. ठीक है, आजकल तो 6 keys के साथ locks आते हैं. So we need to approach the problems with this idea that if one thing doesn't work, the other will. So answering this question, that working mothers के बच्चों के साथ maintain the connection with your child through phone calls, through talks, and while coming back home, manage your energy levels, by which I mean you can have a nap while you're commuting, you can unwind yourself right when you are in transit, so that when you come back home with a mindset of being available to your children. Not, sadly, I see this happening, once you come back from work, you are full of guilt. I haven't spent time with my child, and you are full of objectives. Homework check करना है, नहलाना है, खाना खिला देना है, TV बंद कर देना है, and tuck them to bed. So there are so many targets that you have to achieve right in these 2 hours, out of which spending happy time with the child, letting the child know that how much I missed you in the day, how it is important for me to go to work although I just want to spend time with you. Let the child know that you love him. We love our children, but we barely tell them, especially when they grow up. It's important to consistently, Richa, if you have a partner, and I know that you're married, right? So even after, I'm married for 23 years, but even now, I really expect and I want my husband to come and tell me or acknowledge it to me how much he loves me. However, in whatever way.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So happy kids.
I think you are right, Bharti. Sorry to cut you, because this is what the expectation is every time. I am sure when you do not meet such expectations and when you do not get these expression from your partners, you will not say that that you are missing something, but that will definitely impact in a different manner, being stressed and being shown that you are doing a lot and he is not realizing or she is not realizing, and you're not giving time. So the expression says a lot, I think.
Absolutely. And once the child has made some effort, we generally try to judge them for the result. So for example, if a kid comes to the mother sharing his or her drawing or sketching or painting, and the mother quickly usko bata denge, oh wow, this is a wonderful thing that you have made. Oh, this is so bad. The coloring is not up to the mark. This is how we respond. But have we even acknowledged that the child managed to spend 10 to 15 to 20 minutes with that piece of paper, managing to put that effort to put things in the right place? What if it spilled? What if it did not come out well? But appreciate the effort made by the child. Acknowledge that effort he made while helping you pass the chapatis from the kitchen to the dining table. How much he managed to come and give you a hug and ask you, Mama, you look sad today. Acknowledge and appreciate these small gestures, small little things with the child, and you will grow up and you will bring up a very, very happy child, Richa.
Wow. Awesome.
Understand that when to say,
I will definitely try these.
sure, I'm so glad.
Yeah. So, Bharti, Kanika just asked that please suggest a good book on bringing up happy and emotionally strong children, especially for working mothers.
Yeah, this is a difficult question, dear. मुझे एकदम से तो books कोई ध्यान नहीं आएंगे. But positive parenting is one book that I can just recall. Spiritual parenting, there are so many actually, so many of them. And right now it would be wise कि मैं ऐसे ही randomly कोई नाम बता दूं आपको unless I am very sure that it's an extremely good book. So maybe sometime later I can share a few titles with you and you can spread it across through your channel.
Bharti ko you can just follow Kanika and then probably you can just message her and check with her later.
Yeah, that should be good.
Yeah. So I think it was such an amazing session, Bharti. We have learned a lot. I'm sure the audience of us, they are actually in a thinking mode right now because I can myself imagine that they must be thinking what's going wrong and how can we correct it. What are the measures we can take on the daily basis, and mothers must be thinking what all needs to be done from now. Even if we tried one or two things learned from you, I think it will really impact our lives. And this is why I would really like to thank you from our team that you have given us your time. I think this lockdown is really helping people like us, that you are actually getting some of time out from your busy schedules.
Sure.
But I'm sure in your case, you must be doing conversation with a lot of patients and all. This can
Absolutely.
happen. Right.
Yes, and I also want
So
people to
probably,
know here,
yeah,
Richa, that I'm also doing emotional training programs for adolescents because this age gives me that hope that the world will give us a bigger and a more beautiful picture in the coming up years, in the 5, 7, 10 years that we are looking forward to. So I work with adolescents, I work with young adults to equip them, to empower them emotionally. So I have programs running where I train them. Of course, now the mode is online through webinars, but these are very empowering courses that I conduct, and about 6, 8, or 10 sessions maybe together in a group, and full of activities, full of leadership activities, full of communication skills, emotional management, anger management, time management for that matter. So a lot of children I have trained. I have coached them personally also. So there are group programs and there are personal coaching programs. I help the children empower themselves with a vision, with a bigger and a more beautiful vision of life, right? And a very practical vision to life. So we tend to parents tend to give them only a rosy picture about life. Even if they are talking about their own background, they would not pick up their failure episodes. They would not pick up their mistakes episodes. It is very important for the kids to know that parents also fail. They are not sitting up on any pedestal. They are not godly figures. So they are human beings like the child, right? So this is what I managed to do, that it's okay to fail. Out of so many failure stories, the best of success stories come. This is how I connect with them, and I empower them. So I just wanted people connected with you to
sure.
know through your platform that I am doing this, and they can reach out to me, reach out to you for me, and however.
Sure, why not? What is the age group, Bharti, for these children?
So starting with 9 plus, right? 9, 10, 11, 12, and then
Sure.
12 to 16, two groups usually I work with.
Sure, thanks so much. So people who are really interested and wants to enroll can directly message us on Responsible Hospitals. Also, they can reach out directly at Bharti Rakheja on Instagram and message her directly as well, or else we can help you guys get in touch with her. So I will just end up this session. A very very thankful note for you, Bharti, and I wish that we do another session on certain topics soon, since it
Sure.
was really good, and I've been getting a number of messages from people that So helpful, so thankful to you. So I'm so happy and thank you so much once again.
I'm so happy myself to be here, Richa, and I would really look forward to more such enticing sessions with you,
Sure.
exchanging,
Done.
learning myself also, and sharing my knowledge, skills, and expertise with all of you. Lovely being here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us live today. We'll see you again tomorrow on Mama Story for yoga session live. And thereafter, we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Bye bye.